All right, thank you, everyone. I'd like to thank you all for attending the October 12th regular board meeting of the Town of Webb Town Board. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, I'd like to thank everyone for attending. If you haven't signed the sign-in sheet, please do before you leave. Next regular board meeting will be November 9th, 2021 at 7 p.m. The November audit of claims meeting will be held on Monday, November 15th at 5:30 p.m. Come on in. You can't hide.
Sign in. Sign in.
Okay, now you can leave. Thanks, Mike. Okay, budget workshop dates to modify the tentative budget are set for October 14th and October 19th, both of those beginning at 8:30 a.m. until noon, and then 1 p.m. until 4 p.m. And if necessary, on October 21st, at a time to be determined by the board, will reconvene if necessary to continue its work on preparation of the preliminary budget. An executive session may occur this evening if deemed necessary. And I would like to start out, we have a guest speaker. George Peterson would like to speak concerning the personal watercraft laws. The floor is yours.
Do you want me to turn this around and face you guys, or?
It's up to you.
All right, that might make it a little easier.
Careful that microphone, that's all.
Yeah, that's the important one.
Now you look official.
Okay, great. All right, I've came back to this meeting tonight because I was here addressing the PWC codes that we had that is 20 years old, and since then I've done some legwork, and I've also started a petition, and I'm going to present the petition, and I'll let you know what that petition is in a second. And because I've had conversation, a couple things I want to say is with personal watercraft vehicles, boats, snowmobiles, you have people that are 100% responsible, and then we have people that are irresponsible. So, and the reason I just bring this up is I was having conversations and people are saying, what about this guy, what about that? But they're referring to people that are irresponsible and not, you know, they're entitled, I guess, basically. They can do whatever they want. And that happens with everything, snowmobiling, boating, wave runners. And the second thing I wanted to clarify, because at the last meeting I was at, I talked about two-strokes being bad, which I've learned some additional stuff. A two-stroke wave runner, if it's gas and oil mix, that's very polluting. The newer technology, I guess, is direct injection into that, which doesn't have the emissions and polluting. And in addition, I was at the Seven Lake Sandbar and I ran into somebody, a couple of sit-down wave runners, and talking to them, and I was surprised that one of them was a two-stroke, and it really wasn't that, that loud. So I just want to clarify, since my last meeting, not all two-strokes are bad. But anyways, I just wanted to quickly, I know I talked about last month, but for the record, I'll just quickly review the law. It's over 20 years old. Under your purpose and findings, you identified air and water pollution, excessive noise, disturbance and disruption of wildlife, damage to plant life, threat and damage to public safety, and disruption of tranquility. And as I said, the EPA in 2006 had a marine standard, engine standard, and the manufacturers also have stepped up to the plate, so they've reduced the emissions of these things by almost 90%. As far as the noise, they've reduced the noise levels due to technology almost by 70%. As far as this disturbance and disruption of wildlife, I've Googled that and I found myself reading an article about that, and then I realized they're talking about manatees in Florida or aquatic plant life in Florida. So I couldn't find anything of what these PWCs are doing to wildlife any more than motorboats. Same thing to plant life, and as I said, anybody with a PWC riding around anything with plants, you avoid it, because if you suck that in, you're going to overheat and you're done. Threat to public safety, I haven't been able to find a whole lot, and on page 7, I marked them in the right hand corner. I found this from PWC accidents, and this was from New York Parks and Recreation 2020 Recreational Boating Report, and it just shows you since 92 to 2020 how many PCs, how many injuries, and the number of fatalities. So like in 2020 we had 33 injuries with 6 fatalities. And there again, I'm not sure where they got this information, but this is where I pull it off, the website under the New York Parks and Regulations.
So this is New York State overall?
Yes.
Not Webb?
Yes, not Webb. I'm sorry, yes, not Webb. So basically with what I just listed, all of that doesn't really exist anymore because things have cleaned up, and the problems that are identified in that part of the law really are non-existent. But if they were existent, okay, because this law is a copy and paste law because it affects Twitcho, Rondex, and Woodhull. It's a copy and paste. But if these problems truly existed, then they should be banned altogether. But we say we can operate between 9 and 6. That's like when we had to be out of the bars and restaurants by 10 o'clock because COVID came out at 10:01. It's almost the same thing. But with these PWCs, they're on the same playing field as motorboats now. So if you're saying that PWCs are causing damage, probably motorboats are just as disruptive or damage. And I'm not advocating that we get rid of the boats or anything, because you guys, it's needed for this community. I mean, there's a lot of people that come up, they bring them up, and they're enjoying all the lakes. Go ahead. All right. So with that being said, the other problem. Oops, I'm sorry. Okay. The other, so basically the petition was to change the hours from 9 to 6, to sunrise to sunset, which is a state law. And one of the things between 9 and 6 that I found myself personally is the waters are pretty choppy when you get all these boats going out and everything else. And sometimes after 7 o'clock, these lakes just calm right down. We should be able to, enjoy the lakes. I'm not, at my age, I don't want to be bouncing around. So if the lakes are calm, I'd much rather have the opportunity to enjoy the lakes like everybody else can, after 6 o'clock. So like I say, I think they're on the same playing field as boats. One other thing I did starting at the end of August, I was wondering how many PWCs are on our Fulton chain, so I did a count. I counted a total, and when I say I counted, if they had to be physically parked, and if there was a spot like Bald Mountain County had 10 spots for wave runners, there's only 9 there, I only counted 9, so I didn't count the empty spots. But I counted 291, 56 just on the channel, 50 on First Lake, 23 on Third Lake, and 162 on Fourth Lake. Talking to Chief Johnson, he says it's really not an enforceable law because of the continuous navigable waterways, issue. But if you wanted to keep that law in place, then 198.13 signage, I can't find any signs at all that designates it as a vessel regulation zone. The only sign I found close was on Fifth Lake and Inlet, and all that said is Inlet, Fifth Lake is 5 miles an hour. So there's no sign. So if you kept that law in, then you got to put the signs, in place. Penalties and offenses is another thing that I didn't realize, and I looked into that a little bit. So if you look at penalties and offenses, and on page 2, it says any person, they shall be guilty of a violation, and you say it's punishable as set by the navigational law of 73B. Now if you go to page 3, I put the law in there for you. That is for misdemeanors. If you go to page 4, 73C is for violations. So it's kind of confusing. Is this supposed to be, if I'm caught on the lakes after 6, is it a violation or a misdemeanor? The way it says, guilty of a violation. But I believe you may have used the wrong code. Navigational law is 73C for violations. Because of Navigation Law 46, Vessel Regulation Zone, this is where it really gets confusing. If you look on page 5, page 6, any person violating any of the rules that you put in this regulation zone shall be convicted of a misdemeanor. And I don't think Old Forge wants to send people home with misdemeanors operating after 6 o'clock. But it's confusing when you read the two laws. I'm not an attorney, you may want to, look at it, but I'm just, pointing that out to you. Penalties. I did hear that, I think that there was a reference made about if you guys decide to change this, that we would need a public hearing, and I just want to caution you on that. If you do have a public hearing, you don't want to say it's under navigational law 46, which is public hearings required when you establish a vessel regulation zone. And their requirements for publication and notification is different than if you use the open meeting law for a public meeting. So there's just, I'm just pointing it out. If you decide to have a public meeting, you can't. I don't think you should use navigation law 46. You need to say open open meeting law. And the difference is, I think one's a 5-day notification, one's 30-day notification. One is a notification in one paper. The other one says you have to have it in 2 publications. So I'm just pointing that out. Let's see. So that's that. Like I say, on page 7.
Good information on
Page
what we're-
6.
Page what?
Page 6, right underneath where you got that orange mark.
Yeah.
Page 5 also says, but Brian will tell us.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just I'm sorry. I did a lot of reading, so it was very
Yeah, that's okay.
confusing.
It's also a local legislative,
Right.
local.
No.
It's a local law.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So 7 just shows the accidents. Page 8 was just a graph of accidents that occurred by time. It was just kind of interesting. Between 9 and 6 is a highest peak. So it's like, all right, maybe after 6 it might be safer for us to go out. But page 9 is just basically what a personal watercraft is, who rides it, how many there are. They talk about admissions. That's for your reading. Page 11 is resources out of the personal water. The website is PWIA and environmental impact. So I just put that for your reading. Basically, they're saying PWCs are among the cleanest, environmentally friendly vessels on the water. And page 14 is just a quick thing about PWCs. And then page 15 was a copy of the petitions, copy of the form I used for the petition. Regarding the petition says, petition the town of Webb board members to amend or repeal the personal watercraft PWC code or law, whatever it's called, and it's the town of Webb board members, Supervisor Bergstresser, Councilwoman Green, Councilman Gardner, Councilman Hale, and Councilman Ross. And it says, we, the undersigned, hereby request the town of Webb board members to amend or repeal the town code, chapter 190, specifically 190-8.11, regulations for use of personal watercraft and specialty prop craft. Section A, hours of operation be changed from permitted hours of 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. to the state hours of sunrise to sunset. And I have 259 signatures on the petition. And what my criteria is obviously they had to be over 18, so you'll see a couple of names that were scratched out because we realized that, underage kids were there. And you'll see 2 names scratched out because they forgot they signed it already. So when I saw that, I scratched that up. So there's 259. And the criteria I kind of use is anybody that comes up here uses a Fulton Chain of Lakes and, and things like that. So you're going to see addresses out of state, but they have property up here. Or it's going to be addresses of somebody renting from one of the establishments here that bring their own PWCs up. So I'll submit the petitions to you guys. And let's see.
Thank you.
I know you're gonna get pushback, maybe from the Fulton Chain of Lakes and all that. The only thing I would ask that if anybody, and I know there's people that are gonna probably still be against PWCs operating after 6 o'clock. The only thing I would ask that is if anybody's talking about it, to be factual, about it, and make sure things are relative to our area. I was reading an article about what they were causing on undeveloped shorelines. Well, the Fulton Chain of Lakes, they're pretty well developed, so it's not an apples comparison. When you're talking about somebody that wants peace and quiet and tranquility, if you bought a house on 4th Lake, you're not going to get that. If you go up to the Adirondacks and some of these other lakes where it's not well developed, then you're going to get that quietness. But all in all, I think it's time to do something with this, with this law. We should have the same rights as boaters, because I think we're really on the same playing field as boaters. And that. Water skiers. I will say one thing. When I was getting signatures, I was talking to these couple of people, and they were wanted to leave the law alone. I go, okay. Well, come to find out, they're water skiers. They like to be out at 7 and don't want wave runners in their way. So that's a selfish reason not to, not to do this. But the supervisor has my number. If anybody wants any other questions or anything like that, needs to talk to me about anything, I'd be more than happy to do that. The only other issue that I will bring up, that if you make changes here, and I pointed out there are definitely some flaws in this current law, but that will also affect Chapter 90, Article 11A, which is Rondex Lake and Woodhull, and Chapter 90, Article 2A, I'm sorry, Chapter 90, Article 3, which is Twitcher Lake, because they're copy-paste laws. So the thing about violations, is that the correct thing and stuff like that. So I think that's all I have.
Thank you.
You want this turned back around, or?
Does anybody have any questions before you? Anybody
Yeah,
have
I'll sit in for a bit.
Okay.
Whoops, I'm gonna get water.
No, I don't have questions. I wanna read what you brought in and digest it a little bit.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting you guys to take any action tonight or anything like that. I was just wanted to, present the information to you to be reviewed, and
You did a very thorough job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice job with your presentation.
Very nice. Okay, moving on. Correspondence. We did get 2 letters from People First and their executive director, Robert Calley. This is the Municipal Housing Authority in Utica, in the Utica area. They came up and spoke to us. The letters entail acknowledgement of the housing initiatives here in the town of Webb, and they also offered their assistance for anything. I'll give those to Nancy. They'll be on file here. All right, on to the housekeeping. The 2022 preliminary budget hearing. Will the board consider an action on a resolution calling for a public hearing in order to adopt the 2022 preliminary budget to be held November 4th, 2021 at 6 p.m. at the Town of Webb offices, 3140 State Route 28, Old Forge, New York. Copy of the preliminary, got that wrong, 2022 budget will be on file at the office of the town clerk, Town of Webb, after October 21st, 2021. You got all those 2020s? All right, it's a pleasure of the board.
The preliminary 2020 budget.
That's 22, scratch that.
Time work?
Yeah. I will make the motion, please.
I will second it.
Barb? Don? Have a roll call vote?
Councilman Gardner,
Aye.
Councilman Hale,
Aye.
Councilman Green, aye. Councilman Ross,
Aye.
Supervisor Bergstrom.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, hopefully, November 4th. All right, we have 2 vehicles that we need to declare surplus. Will the board consider a resolution declaring the Department of Public Works 2010 Ford F-350 dump truck with a plow as surplus, and also Macaulay Mountain's 2012 Ford F-250 as surplus, to be sold through any of the usual municipal sales or auction sites.
I'd make the motion to put those up for surplus.
Okay, all right.
Second?
Is that done?
Yes.
Thanks. All right, any discussion?
Question, if we put them up for surplus, does that open up, because you have a statement?
Yes. I was going to discuss that
Okay,
in the discussion.
okay,
I'll
hold.
And even if we did, it doesn't mean if we put up for surplus, it
Doesn't mean we have to let it
have to
out.
sell it.
Okay.
But we've been looking for a vehicle for the cleaner. And the truck that Mike, or Stevie has for sale, or is to declare surplus, is a 2012 F-250, but it only has 36,000 miles on it. The only rust that's on it is in the bed a little bit. It's really not in bad shape. I did speak to Rick Kipp about it. I mentioned it to him, and he thought that would be perfect for all the trash he has to carry around all the time when he picks it up. It's a regular cab, so there's no club cab, no second seats.
You could put a box on it so we could have it.
Could put a tonneau cover on it or something. And it's the Kelly Blue Book value was anywhere from 15,500 to 18,000.
which stuff these days isn't really going by those
No.
prices.
But that's all I had to go by.
Yeah, no, that would sell big on,
Sure.
because it's a 3/4 ton, hard to come by.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's
there's-
got a plow on it.
he doesn't
No,
have
that
a
one
plow.
doesn't.
Oh, that one doesn't have a plow?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, just a DPW truck did. So. What do you think?
Well, I agree with putting it out for surplus. I don't know if I agree yet with the,
Okay.
250 is a big truck for,
It is.
I
that's what I
guess.
thought.
It's overkill. It would be parked here.
right.
I told him it would be parked here, so that Terry, or whoever's the second man is, could use it on the weekends, and he would travel back and forth on his own.
Does he have a lot of gear he travels around with, or is most of the stuff in each building?
No, he carries stuff around with him in his truck, no.
So I guess
mean,
that's,
but what else are we gonna buy for $15,000?
Right.
But it is a 250 for carrying sponges.
That's why I threw it out there. Well, he also has a, he's got a floor buffer, carpet cleaner that he hauls
maybe
around.
more of a van than it.
Well,
I'm just worried about stuff getting
he
ruined.
doesn't have
if
to
it's
carry
raining or
those, but
weather,
he
you
just
know.
has to bring them with him when he wants to use them.
Right, but I mean, like, wintertime,
Mhm.
raining and stuff like that, I mean,
Right.
And again, we could put a cap on it in the back, you get a tonneau cover for it, something on that one. It's just, we were looking for a vehicle, that one came up.
Well, like you said, we can declare it surplus, we don't have to sell it
Right,
right. I'm fine with the surplus part of it, I just
all right.
want to make sure that we're not going to be damaging equipment by him forcing him to put it in a pickup truck. That's
Well,
not gonna-
he's pretty good about that.
No, but
Yeah, I know what you mean.
some of the stuff's bigger, so it's,
Right, weather-wise.
even under a cover, then it might be laying down and getting banged up, or not traveling the way it's supposed to,
Right.
so that's my only concern.
And
But I don't know what he has,
I
so
think it's rare that he carries those.
Does he have anybody ride with him or no?
No.
So you can put most of that
Oh, yeah.
stuff in the cab?
Behind the seat
Well,
and
I
in the
think
seat.
that's what he's got now, is a pickup truck, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he doesn't carry anything in the back of his pickup truck. Everything's up in the cab.
So we're just looking for something with wheels on,
Mhm.
basically, but something that, so this is actually has some value to it, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Right, I agree. I don't know that this is the vehicle, but this isn't the vote either, so
Right,
we
No.
can just put it out for surplus.
Well, once you put it out for surplus, it's gonna go on the auction block. so.
It'll sell quick, I'll bet you.
Oh, yeah.
These
Here.
vehicles these days.
There's nothing on the lots. Talking to a Honda dealer in Rochester, he had 12 new cars on his lot. And that was it.
What's he driving right now?
Rip?
His
His
personal-
own vehicle, his personal vehicle. And we pay mileage.
This way we're paying, how many miles he put on?
I couldn't tell you.
What do we pay mileage for? How much do we pay?
Because he uses his truck.
No, but what, how much do we pay him? That'll give us an idea how many miles he's going. Nobody knows?
You'd have to look at
We
it.
just
I
signed
could
the
pull the
bill.
numbers, I don't know, yeah.
Every month you sign a bill.
Every month we sign a bill. If I had to guess, I haven't seen one that was more than $75, which would be about 130, 140 miles.
Right.
No,
But it's never had a plow on it, so
No.
it's not gonna, it'd not be a problem child.
no. No, Steve said mechanically it's sound. So, yeah, it does have some value. But then again, if you're gonna
What
buy
are we gonna
something.
buy?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm in a corner, I don't know where we're going.
Maybe it's a good idea to see what the budget's got going on and find out if we need that $18,000 or $20,000.
Because it goes in the general.
Yeah, but that's just one in general this year.
It's so what, it's still money that we,
It's my need.
So if we vote, put this in surplus right now, if we wait a month or whatever it is to talk over, to figure out if this is the right vehicle or not, you're saying the vehicle will probably be gone already by then?
Well, unless we just tell them not to put market it yet.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I'm asking, can we just
Yeah, I can do
Why don't we
that.
declare it surplus?
vote
and
it and
market
pause it, and then,
We can declare it surplus and then we can take it
Don't
off.
market it until.
Not
we
rush it.
Have another discussion.
We just keep insurance on it as well.
Yeah. We'll just have to keep the insurance on it.
That's,
That's not a deal breaker though.
No.
Not at all.
all right, gee, no.
It's all minor.
So we'll hold on to it, we'll declare it surplus and then we'll.
Okay, so I need a motion.
you got your
You
motion.
need your, all,
Oh, I do, okay, I'm sorry. Roll call vote.
Councilman Hale? I'm
Aye.
going backwards, sorry.
That's
Councilman
fine.
Gardner?
aye.
Councilwoman Green?
Aye.
Yeah, I saw that. Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Bergstresser?
Aye.
Five
Who's this
ayes.
Moore guy that's on? I don't know. We'll ask her later.
Not cool. I didn't even notice that.
Just so you know, I pulled that one off an old meeting.
No.
Robert's name is there on the votes. So. Okay,
Why wouldn't you?
so moved. All right, our housing project consultant, we received a contractual proposal from Don Hall, the CEO of Opportunities for Upstate. You've all been given a copy of the proposal at the budget hearings. The terms were written out in the proposal. The fee schedule is $1,000 upon acceptance and $1,000 per month for the first year. This proposal is to provide guidance and assistance in the public housing market for the town of Webb. The board authorized supervisor enter into an agreement for the next 12 months with Mr. Hall. What's the pleasure of the board?
I will make that motion to enter into contract.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Kurt? Any discussion?
Yes, I would like discussion. The question is, and I guess it would be more for you guys, because you guys have been on top of this way more than me, myself. Is 12 months needed? I mean, is he gonna be doing this, is that how that works, is every month he's gonna be needed to be doing this project?
Yes. I've had multiple conversations with Mr. Hall on the telephone, and he's shared a lot of paperwork with all of us, and 3 different proposals for a contract with him, and this was the recommended one to go with. Working with him will help us not only with Railroad Ave property that we're moving forward with in the investigative stages to try and put housing there, but he can also help us get into places that we can't do as a board on our own, so that we can get, and I'm no good with the acronyms, I can't name them off the top of my head. We can get assistance for disabled, for veterans, for seniors, for poverty level people, for simple replacements and repairs on existing homes. There's actually a mobile home replacement program that we might be able to get into in, you needed 2 in one township. I know of 1, but if you work as a county together, you can get monies to help people get into safe homes. So that's on top of this stuff. So Don Hall has 40 years of experience in this field. So he can help us in multiple factions of housing. All questions housing that come up, he will be able to guide us on that. He will be able to apply for the funding for us, which is spelled out in his contract and the scope of services that he would provide. So yes, it's a year, and then it'll probably be another year after that if we're wise to keep him on board, to make sure that we keep moving forward. The housing issues that we have are according to the survey that we have done, the results of that, it's 5 years from now, it's 10 years from now, it's 15 years from now, it's nothing that's gonna get taken care of immediately. So we need someone who has that kind of expertise. So pardon me for pontificating, but I think it's really important to follow through. Yeah.
And I don't think he's
Absolutely.
looking for a long-range gig, he just,
No.
Right.
he's he'd like to be semi-retired.
Well, and I know when he sat in front of us, he spelled things out wonderfully. I mean, it was stuff that, we just can't do.
He's already
Well,
been,
he can open doors that we can't, because even if we created a authority tomorrow, we still wouldn't have the ability to walk through any of those doors. It takes time to actually build that bridge. He can actually help us build the bridge quicker.
he's been reaching out on our behalf even before he's been contracted by the town,
Yeah.
just making inquiries and multiple agencies. The Mohawk Valley Community Action Agency is one of them that he's connected with, that works with a broad range of people. And he's already talked with Bob Calley, and Don is coming Monday to our meeting at 5:30, if anybody's interested in hearing him talk, because he'll spell out far better than I am with this sputtering that I'm doing, but I think he would be a real asset to the town.
He's very comfortable to work with,
Yeah.
also.
Yeah. He's a smart man, he knows his stuff.
Yeah, I got that
For
from
30 years.
Right.
from me, but I
Yeah.
do realize this.
Yeah. In the papers that he gave us for the scope of services, I had one question that I did contact him before I came. On number 7, consultant activities, it says each person acting as a consultant or employed by the consultant shall not be compensated at any more than a reasonable rate which may not exceed the statutory maximum set under federal law. So I said, what does that mean? And would you tell us before you get somebody on board that, you know, and he said, he goes, that only applies if federal funds were used to pay his office. The rate is set, I have no idea what this means, at G17 standard, and we won't come near that. So he said you can basically ignore that clause. This is his boilerplate contract that he gives to everybody, but that it basically won't apply to us because we won't be in that money level, whatever G17 standard.
That's just a grade for
is.
the guy that's working.
Okay.
The
Okay.
gal. Pay rate.
Right.
Pay rate.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. All right, so we have a motion and second. Anything else? Okay, Deborah, roll call.
What's the make out of that one this time?
I guess we're doing it.
Councilman Gardner,
Aye.
Councilman Hale,
Aye.
Councilman Green,
Aye.
Councilman Ross,
All right.
Supervisor Bergstresser,
Aye.
5 ayes.
Pulled that one out of somewhere. Okay. I have a bond, I'd like to, we're gonna issue a bond anticipation note for the Steamboat Landing Sewer Lift Station. The sewer lift station that is over at Steamboat Landing across the pond here has become outdated. Replacement parts are obsolete. Anytime there's repairs that need to be affected, the guys from DPW have actually been manufacturing a lot of them themselves. You just can't buy anything anymore. So Sewer District has been working with John Putnam of GHD Engineering to engineer a replacement pump station to replace the existing facility. GHD has also applied for some grants, and the town intends to apply next year's rescue plan funds towards the installation of this facility. Would the board consider adopting a resolution to hold a public hearing to occur at the next regular board meeting on November 9th at 7 p.m. to consider a bond anticipation note for a maximum amount of $600,000? And the purpose of this is only to have financing secured at this time so that we can put the project out to bid. I have to have a funding source secured. The $600,000 was a not to exceed to cover anything for
It's
now.
a big estimate, but I'd rather have
Yeah.
big than
Yeah.
small.
I gave you a copy of the actual estimate we got from Putnam.
All right.
And if you take away the contingencies, the cash allowance, the engineering thing, it's actually about a $300,000 project, and then you add all the other amenities in there, the engineering, it brings it up to about $530,000. This is estimate. We won't know until it goes out to bid what it is. So, what's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Don? Second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, Kurt. So motion and second. Any other discussion?
Go ahead.
I did have a question on, only because this falls into the sewer district,
Mm-hmm.
which, if I'm not mistaken, we're still paying for this one over here, is that,
Mhm.
that's correct?
Yeah.
And if we got, it isn't looking real good on getting money for the sewer plant,
No, it's not.
so all of a sudden, the numbers keep going up for the sewer district.
Okay.
So, I guess
One of the
budget
drawbacks.
officer needs to explain a
Right.
little bit to me on what's gonna happen here.
One of the drawbacks, one of the things we've been running into for grants for the sewer district is we don't charge enough.
Yeah, our EDUs are too low.
Yeah.
So they say
Can you believe that?
Our EDUs could be higher, which I don't think they need to be higher, but, so that's what we fight. That's why we keep missing that funding.
When you aren't charging enough, they assume that everything's paid for and you're good and you don't need any
But
money.
at the same token,
Well, when
this,
you're in
this.
debt really heavy, that doesn't make up the difference.
Right.
Well, but then again, it also weighs against, okay, you guys are debt heavy, so you're gonna need some grant money for whatever you need to do. So
And really, the only way to do it is it's a benefit use district,
Right.
so we have to bond it, so we can actually
Right,
put it
and
out.
bond
on
is the
time.
way to.
That's all I
the
can,
money.
that's all we can do right now.
And well, we can't take it out of our general fund, because it's benefit use district. The unfortunate problem is that system, that unit it's actually getting to the point where it may be dangerous.
Mhm.
Oh gosh, yes, it needs to be replaced, I'm just questioning what's gonna happen here, because if this happens next year, and that happens pretty soon,
Right.
plan it.
Well, and that's gonna happen within the next 2 years.
2 years.
We're gonna be looking for an extension here shortly,
Right.
again. But that's a $500,000 project.
You're right. And this, so this.
Well,
And
this
that
one's-
one's, that's a mandate, that we have to do because.
this
we
one's
have-
failing.
This one's
Yeah.
failing.
It's failing and it's
I mean,
next
it's
to
been a
light,
failure
yeah.
for years.
It's kind of a mandate, because
Yeah.
can't go without it.
Labor Day, they were over there all day long, working on air compressors to work at manual all day long because it went down. So, I can tell you right now, I got $92,000 from the rescue plan that I will apply towards that, which will bring it down that much. If we can get either.
But the number might not
WIA
come out of that, at 600.
No, it won't. And if we get a WIA grant, those are 2575.
And if it comes in higher than that, we're gonna have to redesign.
Mhm.
We're gonna have to reduce the size of the wet well or something. So,
Right now, the wet well is designed to carry 24 hours worth of,
and that'll be the first thing to go.
yep. It's 25 feet deep. It's a deep excavation over there.
That would change the cost of
Mhm.
it. But you need to bond it so we can look for money.
Right, so, but we don't know what it's gonna cost till we bond
This is a
it.
step in the process. I
Till we
don't like
bond
the
it.
number, but this is a step we have to
I
take so we
totally
can
understand
actually.
what we're doing, I just
make
wanted
a
to
better
question.
deal.
And the bond is a maximum of 600,000.
And we won't necessarily bond that much. But
But
this
I-
is a step we have to take
This is the first step we have to take to get
because it is a
get
sewer
it up.
district.
All right,
Okay, you can talk all of this again at the public hearing.
yes, ma'am. All right, so,
No, I'm done.
can I have a roll call vote?
Who did the second, Kurt?
Yes. Kurt.
Councilman Gardner,
Hey,
Councilman Hale,
Aye.
Councilwoman Green,
Aye.
Councilman Ross.
Aye.
Supervisor Brookshire.
Aye.
5 ayes.
Thank you. All right, one more. The assistant to the supervisor has requested an extra week's vacation in addition to the 2 provided by the employee handbook.
What?
Yeah, she put the request in, I'm moving it along, it's gone. Would the board entertain a motion to grant this request? Any discussion? Pleasure of the board.
I'm happy to talk about it in January, but I looked at the handbook tonight and she is classified along with all the other
Oh, yeah,
employees.
this is why it's a motion, because it's,
Correct. You asked if there was discussion, so I'm gonna
that's fine.
continue. For the first year, you get a week, and then starting the second year to the 7th, you get 2 weeks. I don't see any reason to start changing
Okay.
piecemeal. I think, her pay needs to be addressed. We're looking at that stuff now, but I can't see changing, I don't want to change one person's vacation over others.
And I don't disagree.
That's fine. Like I said, I entertained your
you
request.
guys do, but that
I'd like to
opens
give
up the
everybody
whole.
vacation, but
Can of worms. Yeah. I appreciate her
Would you
job
like to
that she does.
Table it for now, or just
Assistant to the supervisor.
let it go?
It's not on my table.
Okay. All right, so it goes down.
Okay.
Goes down, didn't even vote on it, so
No vote.
just goes away.
No problem. Navigation dock repairs. The southernmost public navigation dock has been slowly heaving up in one spot for the past several years, creating an uneven surface to walk on for the public. We received an estimate from the J.N. Corcoran Incorporated to correct the situation for $9,580 to drive the dock piles back down to where they need to be, with the town providing access to the piles and effecting the necessary repairs afterwards. You all saw the estimate from him.
I did meet with John Cochran
Mhm.
in regards to it. We went over everything. Actually, I thought the assessment was actually fair. So pretty happy with that. But it's, I did, before I reached out to try and find a couple other people to do it, but like Baldwin doesn't do it anymore. Even though he had some of the stuff running around, he's just not.
It's kind of a specialty item.
Yeah.
Right.
He says he can fix it, and
Well, it's getting worse. It's not going to get any
You
better.
don't have to get 3 estimates for that?
Should.
well, I tried.
Try and find them. You have to make an attempt.
Right.
I made
Good
all
faith
kinds of
attempt.
attempts.
Right.
So tell us why it's happening, and will this permanently?
No, I can't say it's gonna permanently fix it. It started to happen, obviously, when the water's down and we had a lot of frost going in the ground. And it must have been an extended period, and that, clamps onto it, and then when the clay in the bottom starts to move, it brings it up. So the frost was just deeper than normal. What could we do to make it not happen again? I guess stack bales of hay around it in the fall, maybe? that might work, and then get rid of it when the water comes up. But that's really probably the only way to guarantee that it wouldn't happen again. And if we have a light season, light winter, it wouldn't be that bad. But
Lots of snow.
I do remember, I recall a winter where we were running water off of hydrants to, we ran out of garden hoses in town. Where frost went real deep into the ground.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's about when it started.
Well, and that would make sense,
Yeah.
because there were some boathouses that
Mhm.
had the same
Yeah.
issues.
I think that's when it started to come up and started it moving.
Okay.
So.
I mean, if and he said, if he starts pounding on it, when he starts moving it down, he's gonna get back where it was, but if it's still moving, he'll keep going, and then he'll weld the section on.
Yeah,
Keep
right.
going, If it wants to go, he's gonna drive it to refusal, and if he, so if he has to add on pipe, he will.
Is this gonna happen with the water? Does he need to bring his barge in with water?
Mhm.
Because it's going down.
If we wanna do it, it's gonna be in the next couple of weeks, because he's gonna be out here driving piles for someone else.
Okay.
He's gotta get his stuff lined up and in, so he can do it during the
Sure.
winter after.
That'll be in this budget now, or our money, not the,
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
there's money in docks and boardwalks.
going to boardwalks, okay.
Yeah, I think
And
we
got
were
big.
kind of planning on that last year,
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. It's a trip hazard.
It has been. So,
Well, if it keeps going, it's gonna damage all the boards too.
Right.
Yeah, it's gotta be
They'll
done.
take a
it's
bend.
gonna be very, very expensive. It ruins the dock.
So whatever you think.
All right. Anything else? It's a pleasure.
You need a motion?
I need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we get, Corcoran and Company to fix our dock.
Okay. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Sure, I'll second.
All right.
But they will start letting that water down.
Roll call vote?
Pretty quick here now.
Today.
Yeah.
I think it started
I
today.
think so too, and with that, they have that, rafting thing
Hold on.
one of these weekends, don't they? So all of a sudden they let a whole bunch out?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, this weekend coming up, they
Yeah.
pretty sure this,
Moose River Fest or something like
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
They're gonna hold
He
it?
might, if he doesn't know that, he
Yeah,
might
I
want
think-
to know that.
Well, they usually
He
start.
can pay attention to it.
I'm sure.
The worst case scenario is the barge stays out there and he walks down on the shelf.
Right, okay.
Because they'll start drawing the water down now.
It's what Barb said today.
Yep. Okay, so let's try
Ready?
it. Roll call
Councilman
vote.
Gardner?
Aye.
Councilman Hale?
Aye.
Councilwoman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Bergstrom?
Aye.
5 ayes.
Thank you. All right. So now, Councilman Gardner, do you have anything to?
Talked to Chuck, everything's going great over there at the Snowmobile Garage. They're basically just trimming back some trails and stuff right now, getting ready to go, but they're in really good shape, they said. For the winter season coming up. Spoke with Cap 21, or Living Beauty Cape, and about the T-Mobile grant, and we talked a little bit about it earlier. And it needs to be for a shovel-ready project, basically. So I know we talked about maybe some other ideas of possibilities, but if it's not shovel-ready, it's not going to go after it. And basically, it's a $50,000 grant, and there's no match with it, right?
Up to $50,000, no match. It's just straight up dollars to spend as needed for that project.
And it's for like recreational, like.
Recreational, updating a
Right.
church or building a boardwalk or just anything to improve the quality of the community. It's very broad in the definition.
Like the dock?
Repair a dock?
So,
Or more docks?
I know Dan has been speaking with APTA about the mountain bike trails because they are shovel-ready with projects, but basically I just want to let everybody know it's a shovel-ready project, so if there's anything else specific that we might feel we should think about
Seriously,
that's shovel-ready.
can that dock be in that thing? We're shovel ready. He's coming to do it.
I mean, the definition, I can read you the definition there, it's not even clear.
Well, good thing I asked.
So can it not be used for the purchase of of the lift equipment from McCauley, isn't that part of what we did?
If we were shovel ready,
We're shovel ready to buy it.
That's what I'm just saying, I mean, I'm not sure exactly how this works with what the qualification is for shovel ready, but it just needs to be shovel ready, so, you know, if we have, as a board, wanna go after
Is that an
something
annual
different.
grant? Dan, do you know? Or-
It's just a
one
pot
shot.
of money that's, I think it's 25 million or
Until
maybe
it's gone.
more than that, something like that, that they're just giving out in small batches.
Okay.
And it says, Teemo Hometown Grant Program will help fund projects to build, rebuild, or refresh community spaces that help foster local connections in your town. For example, this might include the town square pavilion, historic building, an outdoor park, a ball field, or a library. Every town has places where friends and neighbors connect. Most grants, they're very specific. This is kind of unique in that's it. It doesn't give you more
Very
than
vague,
that.
yeah.
So it's kind of open for interpretation, so.
Fits right in.
What about your dog park?
I mean, I'd love to see,
And a dock.
I mean, I'm not opposed to that, I just
mean,
don't know if we're shovel ready, I mean, it wouldn't take much to get a quote on fences, and
Community center? Yeah.
needs to be cleared.
Take care of Christmas lights forever.
We could tighten up a few of the lingering things.
We can spend that 50,000.
And we could probably turn it shovel ready pretty quick.
Right, I mean, with the dog park,
Knowing it ahead of time, we.
Where?
What's the deadline for application?
the end
Can we
of
buy
the
it?
quarter, so the end of the quarter.
What's the deadline, Barb?
The end of the quarter, the end of the year.
End of the quarter?
Yeah, so I gotta have it submitted by December 30th
Okay.
at like midnight or something.
So we should talk that over,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
throw some
We'll
ideas
we'll hash
at
it out
each other.
Monday night. and see. Everybody bring your ideas with you.
Yeah.
Ideas are-
So just kind of want
Mine.
to put that out there before it went too far in any other direction. And then the Mountain Bike Festival was last weekend, or last weekend, 2 weekends ago.
2 weekends.
Whatever it was now. Let's check the time here.
It was awesome, rating, but awesome.
It was raining, we had a lot of riders up there for being in the rain all day long. There was over 600, well, up to 600 riders, I'd say, on Saturday, and Sunday was hard to tell. Yeah, I was pleased with the turnout. It was very exciting, everybody had a blast, and people really want to keep doing it and come back, hopefully.
Yep, the
It
rain
doesn't
doesn't seem
rain
to bother
both
them.
days. And that APTA is working away at the last flow trail build of the year. I guess it's going well, so that should be hopefully finished in the next week or two.
And you had a nice dry run on a rescue.
So, yeah, and yeah, special thanks to the Mountain Bike Patrol and the 04 Ambulance Corps and everybody that helped out with that. There was a rescue at the event, and it was amazing. The call came in, and it was in the most remote section of the mountain, and Jordan was there within 2 minutes with his mountain bike, and he's their mountain bike patrol, ski patrol, and so that was phenomenal to see that something that he basically put in action worked. Learned some lessons of getting access there, which I think we're going to fix as far as cutting back some trails to, so you get the wheelers in there more direct. That was the hardest part. It's like 6-7 feet of grass back there to get between there and there. So we had a nice meeting after everybody was down and off to the hospital, and we all sat together as a group and reformulated a plan. And so APTA and the Mountain Bike Patrol and the Ambulance Corps and Old Forge Fire and Ambulance or Rescue are kind of all going to redo that plan a little bit and have maps made out of basically if something happens here, there'll be a marking like you need I don't know what the gear's called, but the Stokes basket, you need the four-wheeler, you need this for this, that if this is where the call comes in, if this call comes in for here, you need X, Y, and Z to bring with you for there, so that there's not like you get there and you're like, oh wait, we need this now, we need that.
Pre-planning.
And there was some pre-planning that was done 4 years ago, but it's just, it was a, actually sitting there and doing it and having everybody there and seeing it live and how it actually works. It was a great lesson for everybody. But I mean, the reality is that they got this person off the mountain really quick for where he was. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Excellent.
And that's it for me.
Okay.
All right.
Don?
I gave you guys a copy of just a boilerplate of a letter of intent or letter of interest, you can name anything you want, for the Old Forge Aquatic Recreation Terminal. We would need to adopt something of this nature so that we could continue on. with the funding application through PZAC's office, or IDA. So I wish everybody to read it and see what they think. The other thing is I met with John Morelli. John Morelli is a DOT, OGS. He's retired. He's a roofing guy. He does all the buildings in the state building. So him and I and the contractor put the ladder up, went up on the roof over at the wastewater treatment plant, and did some running around. And I think he might have a more palatable number than we were thinking. I've got some details to work on with him, but he's going to give us a number on replacing that. He's saying if we can get the material, he could have it done this fall. We obviously have to get 3 bids on it. And then I talked to him this evening before I came over, and he said he can't find any material anyplace. So we may that's a problem everywhere.
Yep.
So we may be having to go through the winter with it, but at least we'll have a better idea of what we need to accomplish now. Thing is, one thing we have to do is we're going to have to change all the skylights, because you're going to have to increase the insulation to come closer to the standard code, so that all the shoulders and the collars are too short, shallow, so they're going to have to come up. But at the same token, when you look at them, they're all kind of not doing their job anymore because they all have moisture in between them, so they're actually violating anyhow. They are 40 years old, so they're 40 years old. And the man stairway top, that would be changed too, because you can't have a glass unit anymore because people fall through. So there's a few things we'll have to update, but I'll have some better numbers for you later on in the week, or I think I'm meeting with him later this week also.
Okay.
And that's all I got. Oh, wait. Main Street grants are something we may start looking at, simply because they have structures in all these Main Street grants, and town buildings and structures like that. Corey Reed, I got off the phone with him. He was actually telling me they got one funded for Clayton, and it was a Main Street grant. So there is opportunities there. Just need to look a little deeper. And I asked him to look deeper, and he says he thinks he has another opportunity for us.
Good. Don't know work those angles.
For that sewer plant upgrade?
Yeah.
Don't know work those angles.
And I said, push every button.
Yeah.
So I'm going to meet with him next week.
So are we taking the roof project off?
We're going to suck the stone off the primary, not the
No,
tank roof.
not the physical work. Are we taking it off the grant application for the wastewater treatment plant? We kind of talked about that.
Well,
making it 2 separate.
And this would probably, because we may have enough money.
Oh, we have enough, yeah, there's enough money in the capital reserve
So,
building fund over there that we could do this.
and the way we were trying to leverage it was because of the sensitive equipment inside it, the roof is essential. And they're buying it, they say, yeah, they agree with that, but we're not getting funded.
Right.
So I mean, is that holding us back? I don't know.
No.
But we do need to get it fixed either way.
Right.
Yeah, because the wastewater treatment plant started with just pricing out the mandate.
Correct.
And then we threw in, well, we need a new roof. Well, we need to look
We're
at the sewer
$500,000
structures.
for the mandate. The unfunded mandate's gonna cost us $500,000. The roof is ours, so we have to fix it.
The augers were another.
Well, that's another one, we're gonna have to find, yeah.
But that was all stuff that were add-ons to it.
And there's pump stations and everything. Yeah, we could spend a lot of money down there, and it's an old plant.
Well, they were recommended add-ons, not just us picking
Right.
stuff.
And
Oh, yeah, no, they're not
We're gonna
stuff
get
we don't
funded.
want. That's, I
Right,
mean,
right.
the
Stuff that's
lights are
gonna-
wore out, the belly of the pan is wore right out.
Right.
If anybody's been in there, probably not that many, but
Right.
those are 49 foot long, each tube. It's not a tube, it's open trough.
Right.
So it's pretty,
They have to come out through the roof.
they went in before the roof was on. That's the problem. Well, yeah. That or you gotta cut them out.
Right. Okay.
That's
Anything
all I
else?
got.
Thanks. Barbara?
I know. My brain is consumed with all of the housing stuff, to be quite honest, and so is my heart. But I did meet with Rex Germer the other day, and he said, first to say thank you to you for offering to help him with the drain stuff, but he said Smollen's office seems to be
Handling it.
coming forward, so he said if he
Good.
needs anything, he'll let you know. We did talk about the Sharp house, Hildebrandt House being used for Sharp. He's taking that back to his school board because there's one, Margaret Morelli, actually, one new school board member, so he wants to make sure that everybody is on the same page with using that particular building for the Sharp program for their residents. So once he's gone to the board, they want to do it in a public meeting also so that they have transparency, everybody knows what's going on. Then it'll come back to the committee, and Linda Grace has asked a bunch of questions. So Linda Grace, myself, Diane Haru, who's the school board member, and then Rex will meet to discuss contractual stuff for the town to utilize that building for Sharp. And then we'll reach out to the Community Health and Wellness to see what components we need to put together from that aspect. Okay?
Great, thank you.
Excuse, but just so you know, there is a preliminary contract in my computer that we were going to be using before it fell through.
Well, then he probably
So,
has.
I don't know if he has it, I wrote it. So,
Oh,
I shared it with him, but I don't know if he has it.
Okay.
Just in case you wanted to look at it for reference,
okay.
I can share it
Yep,
with you.
you can. And what typically happens is the school has their lawyer on retainer, so we don't end up having to pay. So they will probably design the contract with our input, so.
Right, he was calling a memorandum of understanding rather
Yeah.
than a contract, which is basically the same
Okay.
thing.
Okay, yeah, if you want to
Okay.
send that to me.
Sure.
I mean, there's no rush, because until
Right.
I don't know when their board meeting is, tonight maybe?
I think,
It
I think
usually
it
is
is
the same
tonight.
night as ours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully I'll have
George always
information.
complained about that.
Okay. I think that's all I have, really.
Oh.
Something will come up.
Thank you.
Something will come up.
Thank you, Barb.
You're welcome.
Mike?
Yes, sir. I guess the first thing I would like to bring up is Kurt and I went up to, met with the Thompsons up on the railroad tracks at the trestle that goes up on the train tracks that go up to Beaver River. And they are still, I don't know where this conversation is going, but they're still talking about trying to get some sort of access up there by way of a vehicle. Because now with the train doing what they're doing, they have added stone and whatnot to the tracks. So it's, I mean, it's beautiful, it's nice, level, beautiful, everything. But it's definitely hindering any kind of access to get up there other than boats. And I know that some of the talk is that some of the people up there don't want access. But then we got into more of a conversation. You can butt in any time, Kurt, because now that the train's gonna take all kinds of people up there and unload them, they have concerns. They have concerns of people having heart attacks up there. They have people, they could get robbed up there. Anything can happen when you dump hundreds of people off to their place and all of a sudden nobody can get there. I suppose other than a helicopter or.
Yeah, I mean, basically as the water levels drops down, it becomes limited access with the boat. And so in the shoulder seasons, there's a real concern now that the state's putting in a handicap accessible launch or ramps. Their platform is 300 feet, I think they narrowed it down to get people on and off the train there in Beaver River. They can't get an answer. Are they actually making that a destination stop where they're going to let people off? And he's like, it's from not even from the road standpoint, but from the building standpoint, they don't have the infrastructure to handle an influx of just, snowmobilers coming and going and people coming and going, boaters coming and going. Their systems can handle that, but a train getting unloaded there and letting everybody off, they can't handle that. But more so that it is going to possibly bring problems, and the concern is, being able to get EMS back there or services, or if there is a problem, police services or anything like that, in a timely manner in the shoulder season when the boats aren't available and snowmobiles aren't available. So that's.
Has anyone asked the railroad or DOT what if they
Plan is?
actually plan on letting, I see no reason to let people out there.
So they asked the question,
Lots.
and the state has no answer. They actually
Yeah,
don't
not an
know.
answer.
They don't know what the plan is for the train, they just know what the plan is for the railroad and what it takes for it to be compliant for them to put tracks through towns. So, I think the plan's gonna be more with the tourist train people, which I don't think that they have, I'm not sure.
Do they have supreme right to just drop them off because there's a functioning, I mean, if the
Good
community
question.
can't handle it, and half the community is not going to want it, guaranteed,
Oh, for sure.
then
Beaver River.
why would they open their doors and let them out?
These are the answers they haven't really given.
Yeah, that's,
Well,
I-
that's
I
what I'm
got
saying, so does the town have the right to say, whoa, hold on a minute, you know? It seems like we should have some say in whether that's a stop or not.
That's,
That's-
to be
There's
honest
no
with you, that's what the
infrastructure for it.
Thompsons.
They're
They're gonna
want.
overrun their environmental systems.
right.
Right,
For sure.
right.
And
That's
if they
kind of
are,
why
then
we
they-
went out there.
And if they are, then, you know, the state has to think one step further if they're gonna be creating these problems that they have, you know, have to figure out how to fix them too.
I have a question, how's this gonna affect our snowmobile usage on that track?
It's going to, because what they've done now is they've added a lot of stone and stuff, and when you add all that, it changes
Mhm.
grooming and.
It's
There's
been my
like big
concern all
banks,
along,
so
yeah.
basically there's like, it goes and then it drops really hard on the side of the tracks where before it was kind of all mellowed out, you know what I mean? So now it's
Ungodly
gonna
money
be
for
interesting.
Mhm.
They're
We'll
going,
find out
they're
soon
going
enough.
across the trestle now.
Sense.
Trains are going
Oh,
across
yeah,
the
yeah.
trestle.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I was shocked at that too.
Wow.
So anyways, that was a topic, and remembering that the Thompsons have a barge, and they operate it. They're the only ones that can get vehicles out there back where, I mean, they're, you know, a lot of questions, a lot of answers, I don't know. But I just thought I'd bring it up because we did at least go out and talk with them, and we drove all the way out there. There's one section, you actually could drive a vehicle almost all the way out there except for, what was it, Kurt? Maybe a quarter mile at the most.
Yeah.
There's a
Staying within the corridor, the travel corridor.
Right, there's a wetland right there that goes right up to the tracks, and then it comes back in, and it's really not that far, but
Right. If
Can't
there was
do
a way to
anything about
get
it.
through there, that wouldn't be a big deal to finish the rest of the way, but
My-
that's where the DEC is stopping that.
Well, my conversation with the DEC has been that they would consider veering off of it a little bit because of the fact that, and even if Thompsons have pointed out, there are periods of time during the year that may be a month or more where they can't, there's no boat access.
Right, that's exactly, yeah.
Either the ice is too thin or weak, and there's no boat access, so there are times where they're completely isolated, so. And for us to get out there is, you know, unless we're gonna start parachuting people in as we drop them, it's just not, it's not acceptable.
Yeah, they have a real problem, they're not getting out.
No,
basically.
right. When that plane crashed a few years ago, and I got in the middle of that, I believe it was an hour and a half before they got a hold of anybody, because of the fact that somebody heard it, so then they walked all the way out the end of the point, and they could see the plane on the side, they had to walk all the way back, and then they got in their boat and drove over to see if they could do anything, and then they drove back, and that's when they finally called for help. So,
They have to take the plane apart.
And Rusty stated to me, when they had that gentleman out there, that their boat flipped over, and I kept hearing the tones, and I called out there to Rusty, I said, Rusty, you been listening to this? Told him what was going on, and he basically saved the guy. So it's tough for them, so, but I don't know where that's going, but just wanted to bring it up that
right.
we did make a visit.
We should probably sit down with the DEC and just talk with them about it, I would think.
I can have Randy
I
come
think
on.
you need DOT and DEC.
Yeah, or
I agree.
whatever that is it's gonna take, but we
Mhm.
need to get a little bit more answers as to how that's gonna be used and serviced.
Solve this problem.
I did send a letter to the head of the New York State DOT describing all this too. I did, and it went in with Senator Tedisco's letter, and then a couple other people that live up there. So there has been a letter that went in.
I should sit down.
Okay, well, for the record.
Thanks.
Real quickly, over the soccer games this weekend, there was a couple of people, well, one person in particular that caught me and said, how come the alarm is going off over there? Because the septic tank that's behind the pavilion, it gets pumped to our septic system. And the alarm was going off, and so it rose a little red flag with me, so I asked some questions. It's not the pump, it's still pumping, it's just that they think that the float might be a little touchy in there, so there's no, the alarm is going off, but it's not alarming. It's working. Also, I brought up in a past meeting about the vintage snowmobile show that could come to this community. I brought it up with the CAA, and pretty much the CAA is on board with it. So we have scheduled that for a week, the weekend before 4th of July in June. Just to let everybody know, it's gonna be probably a pretty large event, but it's going very well to date, with getting it up and going, so it's another event that we're gonna try and pull off, and hopefully it goes very well.
And describe this event so that everybody knows more what it is. It's not an annual thing, it's a,
Correct, it's
like
not
a national-
annuals, it's a national deal, and it goes out west. And then 4 years later, it goes out in the east, and it's people that have these really expensive, beautiful, old snowmobiles that come and show them. A couple hundred snowmobiles, it's a quite a group. Very expensive snowmobiles, a lot of them. They just come and they judge them all, and they have their, whatever they do, they have a dinner involved, and they'll book a lot of rooms in the community.
It's no riding, it's no racing, it's just.
No, nothing like that, it's just a show.
Car show.
Yeah,
Snowmobile.
right, just like a car show. That's snowmobiles.
The weekend before,
Yeah, I think
The
the
fourth, right?
22nd, is that something I'm looking at?
Yeah, I'll keep everybody updated on that. I think it's 22nd.
that's good enough.
Yeah, it looks like the 24th, 25th, and 26th.
Oh, okay.
But I think that's what they booked it for.
Yeah.
They booked the Hawaiian.
And the only other thing I have is, I think I know that I've brought this up in the past, but maybe it's a time to re-bring it up. About this trailer parking over on North Street. I said I was gonna stay out of it at this point, but I guess I'll get back. A gentleman asked, actually Don also heard the same comment, why can't we take those trailers up to the old dump? And that's a great question. Instead of filling that, why can't they, the boat trailers? Not talking about snowmobile right now, because
No, you're the boat, the trailers are sitting there all year long.
correct. Why can't they go up there on that lot? I think at one time it was because we couldn't go on that surface, but I think that's changed.
Well, the surface, a cap, you don't wanna go near it, but there's plenty of room around the outside of it, it's not the cap.
Just a thought.
By the old building.
I think it was last year I asked Scott to go up there and kind of clean up all that junk. And they did.
That would be the area, that area would be as big as what we've got down there for them right now. It would solve that problem, and it'd probably be a safer place for them.
It's not for an answer or anything, I just wanted to, there was a question and I
I'll look into it.
brought it up.
See what I can figure out. Fine.
I mean, it's something we don't have to, we don't have to spend any money on, all we have to do is dress
There.
it up, cut the grass once and all of that.
Whatever. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Nancy?
I have nothing. Nothing.
Wow.
I got a few things. The short-term rental progress, give you an update. There was a memo that went to Mark Shackner the end of last week. I was told today when I talked to Brian that he was looking it over. I will have a copy of the 8th version of the rental law tomorrow. And they want to come and meet with us, attorney-client session to explain to us
When?
where we're at. We don't know yet. We'll set up a date. It'll just be them and
Yeah.
there was I'm gonna just interject
Sure.
one thing, the Town Talk magazine, if you guys haven't read it yet, there's a really good article about short-term rentals. Yeah, written by a lawyer, so it had some really good points that we talked around, tossed around, and not known if it was legal to do. And one of the most specific things that was stated in this article was that you cannot cut and paste from somebody else's law, you have to tailor it to your needs. So I think it's important for us to sit down, I would really like to sit down with Mark Shackner.
I think it's long overdue
Yes, agreed.
for us to sit down with those two, the two lawyers.
Well, I'm thinking if they're wanting to have the sit down, they probably see a direction that needs to be addressed,
Yes.
Yeah.
which is good, they're doing their job.
Right.
Well, and I know that people are frustrated that this is taking a long time, but the longer that it goes, the more that is learned about what works and what doesn't work. So I'm frustrated that it's taken a long time, but I also feel good knowing that we're seeing legal stuff written that really helps us move forward without having to do round 12 with them, because it has been a lot of
Well,
work.
and some of the stuff does support what we're doing too.
Yes,
Which is great,
correct.
because it means we are
Correct.
carrying the water.
Yep.
Okay, that's
Thanks.
for that.
All right, second thing I wrote down, you see it, is the cannabis law. You can giggle if you want, but,
No, you brought it up, that's what I'm pointing.
yes. We have to, we, just want to plant the seed that we have to by the end of the year,
So to speak.
so to speak. That was a pun. And I think you're allowed to plant 3 of them, if I'm not
Right.
mistaken. As to whether we want to comply with the law or we want to turn it down. I sent everybody a link, I don't know if you read it. I thought it was very comprehensive on.
Yes.
on
There's a lot of
explaining it.
information there. They've got a lot of boilerplates.
Right. So do we want to comply, do we want to reject it, and how do we want to apply the zoning to it?
I did talk to Andy briefly this morning about this and asked if he would work with you to maybe just develop, and this is coming from me saying, yes, we're doing it.
We discussed
It's
it.
one person, one opinion. So,
He was in
yeah,
afterwards.
if he could just give us a simple thing that would say, this is how, where we'll allow it, you know, if it's gonna be in CV districts or whatever for the sale and parlors, however it's done, similar to what we do with bars. So, rather than us trying to make something up, let the man who knows.
I mean, the state has already had a lot of definitions of usage where.
Right, right.
Yeah, the setbacks from schools and churches.
Same as the bars, so
Yeah,
Right.
it all
The
complies
state's-
with the bars.
The state's gonna be the real regulatory
Right,
correct.
okay.
agent.
And it's 13% sales tax.
Right, but, and then if we vote yes for it, we get an additional
We get 4%.
4%. If we vote no for it, and we decide down the road that we vote yes, you never get that 4%
Oh.
back. So they're using that 4% to dangle out there to,
Yeah, just so you know, it's a 13% sales tax. The state gets 9%, we get 4%.
The county doesn't get anything?
Yeah, the county.
They get a
do.
very small percentage to
Yeah.
handle it.
Somehow they'll figure out how to get some.
Yeah. However, that doesn't mean it's gonna get up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It goes to the county, they get a tiny percentage to handle it, we get the majority of the 4%.
I would really, when we do this, I would really like to have the public's input on this. I really.
Well, we would have to because it's a
No,
zoning.
I encourage it. I
It's a
really.
zoning
Yeah,
change.
it's the law,
Yeah,
that's how we have to do it.
Absolutely.
No, but I want more input than we normally get. We want-
You go out and knock
I
on their
will.
doors,
Yeah.
then,
we just have to have it done for the end of the year, so whatever the process is to
Yeah.
get more
well,
input in, then.
we just have to say yes, we don't have to have our zoning
Yeah,
law in place by the end of the year.
we just,
So-
yeah, we're just gonna
Oh,
participate.
yeah.
Right, so we have time to work that out, because I don't think they're gonna pop up on every corner the first week, I hope.
There's actually getting quite extensive paperwork behind.
There
I think
is.
it's like
There.
super
Yes,
expensive to get a permit.
It is.
Yeah.
Like, not just a few $1,000s, like a lot of thousands.
Big money.
$200,000.
Like what they did for selling
Oh,
cigarettes.
wow.
250.
Oh, no.
Big, big.
Is it really?
$250,000 for the license, which has to be renewed every year.
No kidding.
Gotta
Oh,
sell a lot
the
of weed.
state's out to make money with it.
It's a $20,000 permit or filing fee that you don't get back.
And they're
Yeah,
telling
whether
the
you get it or not.
towns
My
not
God.
to make your zoning so restrictive that it's difficult to, it's like, really? What
You
could we
charge
possibly do?
$250,000 for an application?
Wow.
Okay.
It's not a cheap high
It's
end.
not something
Insane.
that.
I'll sell it.
Okay.
Okay,
I will.
all right, the last thing, the Goggin property, I don't know if you're familiar with it. All right, I'm just gonna, it's a trailer that is over at the base of the Joy Track, it's just by the power station. The very first trailer there as you head up the hill towards
Okay.
McCall. It was placed on a town paper right of way 30 years ago,
1991, I think. it was.
91 maybe. And it's been sitting right in the middle of that paper right of way, and if you go up and take a look, you can't even tell where the right of way is, because there's 10-inch trees growing in the middle of
He was one of my dad's best friends, just so you know.
it. So I kind
Rules
of
didn't apply.
talked to Brian about this a little bit, and we decided, I talked to Casey, he doesn't care. You can still access the properties from the other end on that right away if you need to. Casey could care less about it, so I had Brian contact their lawyer to have them do a survey and an appraisal and get back to us and see. what they're gonna offer us. They wanna buy that little piece of property that they're sitting on, squatting on now. That's a town right away, so to speak. Because they wanna tear down the trailer and they wanna build a regular house up in the same footprint, so.
So, have they been paying taxes on this property all this
I,
time?
Probably not.
No, it's
probably,
ours.
no, it's ours.
They built to
I
the
think they
left
also
and they
back
should have gone to
taxes.
the right.
Can't do it, unfortunately, but-
Too bad.
yeah.
Are you getting
That's-
1 year?
It's the same, the paperwork came to me for,
Yeah,
Yeah,
The one that's just to the right of it?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
the paperwork came in again for the property out behind the Eagle Bay Diner there for Ned Doggett to purchase. I guess it was first filed with us in 2017, and then we got paperwork from Dick Schofield
2020.
again in 2020, so it must be like a 3-year cycle, that Ned Doggett wants to purchase. But there's a garage on that was built without a permit, that they're not paying taxes for either, so.
Yeah, that's a,
So we'll bring that up next month, I'm in a hurry.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
don't we use it right away then?
Where, there?
Isn't it used?
It's all part of the old railroad.
But there's a water system or something, isn't there?
you
We,
say so.
we had granted an easement across there for sewer.
Okay.
I think that the leach field, the drain field was over on Ned Doggett's property, but in order for Amadon to get to it, he had to cross our line.
Amadon's, not ours.
Amadon.
Yeah, Amadon had, we granted a right of way or an easement for him to get that sewer line over there, and so Ned wants to buy the property now.
Good memory. I'm gonna recall what that was.
Yeah. Okay, I'll open up to the floor. Mary?
Of course. I'm glad you mentioned the short-term rentals. I was looking for an update on that, as you wouldn't be surprised. Will the new changed proposed law be made available to the public prior to the public hearing? And can it be, or I guess I'm requesting that it be made available and maybe put on media, social media and.
I think, Nancy, you could probably speak to that better, that the reason it wasn't publicized is because it wasn't a law, and so there was something where we didn't want people getting confused, thinking that was the law.
It's changed so much that we put it up there, people are looking at the wrong one, and they're calling about 7, what we're really on 8, or they were calling up, well, I only saw 5, well, they didn't have 7, and it was easier for people to actually call to get a copy.
Oh, okay.
Ready, available,
It's
no
just
question,
setting it
no
up.
problem,
I
you
mean,
have to,
yeah,
you have to ask for
Email
it.
it right out there.
Probably be easier to put it out that it's available.
Right.
It's just available, it's easier
Right.
that way.
Oh, Nancy.
Because then the wrong ones out there, once
Be
things
on
are
the
on
town web,
Facebook
you're talking
or
about the
whatever.
town website?
Yeah.
that
Once
was-
it's out
yeah.
there, you never can get
Right.
it back.
Once it's out, okay,
Sure.
It's readily available, just you have to ask for it.
okay. So I'm glad that's moving forward.
It wasn't easy.
Yeah, sure not. The other thing is, it came to my attention that the contractual agreement made between the town and MVHS regarding the physician subsidy last year, that was included in it was a provision that if the number of patient visits met or exceeded a certain threshold, that the town would be reimbursed the money that was paid to the hospital. And my understanding is that it met and actually exceeded the threshold by quite a bit. Kudos to Dr. Perlansky, by the way, who really made that happen. In order for us to keep 2 physicians. That's really what the whole crux of it was. But I understand that it's now available to come back to the town, and that
We did receive a check, it was for the wrong amount,
Okay,
so I refigured it and got in touch with them.
Okay.
And we worked a little deal out where it also included all the back rent, so they're now paying rent on the building, which they haven't done in 8 years. Due to payment in lieu of renovations.
right.
Right. So as of right now, we haven't gotten a second check yet. We haven't issued it. I'm going to accept a check for the back rent from last August, so it'll be 14 months worth of rent.
I'm trying to understand,
we
if
were
there's
de-
rent they pay us
We were
and
deducting the rent.
reimbursing pays, how
Well,
is
and-
paying us rent going to
Well, we
give
were
us money
deducting the
back?
rent from the stipend payments.
Right, understood.
All right, so
Yeah.
what they did was they offered it back, and because the stipend payments that we made were tied up in so many different grants and monies that, so I'm gonna try and set up a fund where we draw off of that what they owe us for the rent until it's exhausted, and then we move on from there. We could do it either way, but I just found it easier because that money came from 6 different sources. And
Well, I guess I'm here to talk from one of those sources.
Sure, yeah.
Not me personally,
No, I
obviously,
know.
but the Community Health and Wellness Fund not only spearheaded the effort to get this done,
Right.
but also made a contribution towards the funding. And we have several new initiatives that we're working on
Sure.
now, which you're aware of,
Mhm.
some of them. We could really use that money back.
Okay.
So I'm just wondering
we
if that could
haven't-
happen, if that would be great. If
We
that could
haven't
happen.
finalized anything yet. We've been into,
Okay.
when I first got the check, to be honest with you, I had no idea what it was for. All of a sudden I get a check for $122,000 and it's like, what the heck? From MVHS, and I said, so I had to call them up and say, what's this?
Don't look a gift horse in the mouth,
Well,
Dave.
yeah, I still
Just kidding.
gotta
I-
figure out where it
I
came
know.
from.
Yeah, right.
And then when I sat down and figured it all up, the number was way off. So we refigured it and we've been back and forth, and this is only been in the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
So that's how soon it's been. So yeah, I can request a refund either way.
Yeah, I mean,
There was a $10,000 grant that came out of the Community Foundation in Lake Placid for it, and monies from Inlet, monies from you, monies from,
Well, and
yeah.
personally, I think Inlet should be paying something every year anyway, in support, they used to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They used to pay, I don't remember how much now, but
Yeah,
they used to pay because Town of Webb pays for all
we-
of the expenses in that building,
Yeah.
and their people use it, so
Mm-hmm.
there's, Forestport too, but yeah, forget that.
I never got anything from
No,
them. I didn't get anything from
I know,
Tom,
you
from
never
Long
will.
Lake either.
You won't.
I know, I did.
So, but Inlet
Prove
would
that
be
point.
willing to play ball, and
They
well,
did.
they
They were
should.
very generous.
But, the Community Foundation, or the Adirondack Foundation, may love to have that money back, I don't know. Or maybe they'd say use it
I know she's always
towards,
sending me stuff.
use it towards a health initiative or something, I
Right.
don't know.
Well, that's why I figured the
Yeah.
rent was a health initiative to keep them here.
Oh, well,
It's a bit of a stretch, but it was
Yeah.
easier paperwork for me
yeah,
right now.
I understand.
Yeah, so that's where it stands. Actually, I got an email, I think today or yesterday, that they may have found an X-ray tech.
Yeah, I was just
Up
talking, Don Kelly and I were just talking about that, they had a meeting to talk about the Community Health and
Right.
Wellness Fund subsidizing the education for an
Mhm.
X-ray tech, for somebody local that would stay here, because we keep losing them.
Mhm.
And they were gonna talk about that, and then they called them and said, we're not gonna meet, because
Yeah.
we have somebody.
Yeah, we got somebody that's
Somebody that's
interested
from here,
yeah.
that's, I think, finishing up
Could be.
his or her
I didn't know any details.
education and wants to be our X-ray tech, so yay.
That's
So,
right.
anyway,
We're
so that's
working-
good news,
yeah,
I
it is.
hope it comes to fruition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'll look into it tomorrow. I'll get a hold of Christian down there,
Appreciate it.
see if we can't.
Okay, thanks.
Good.
I have an easy
Hold
one.
on, Mary Ann had her hand up first.
Okay,
Sorry, Linda.
that's all right,
Okay,
Mary.
I just have a couple questions, and one goes back to the last meeting about the new vehicle for Chief Johnston's, for the PD.
Mhm.
And you mentioned that the vehicle that was being retired, so to speak, that was gonna stay
No,
as part of the fleet, or did that go
I-
for surplus? Because I thought you
Yeah,
guys said that it
two
was,
of
he
them
had
that.
two that need to go,
okay,
They haven't gone yet.
they haven't gotten
they
it,
haven't gone.
Not
but
gone.
we haven't gotten the car yet either.
Okay, is it plausible that one of those vehicles could be used by
Yeah.
versus, like you said, of those trucks,
Mhm.
a much greater value
Mhm.
to put them out there for, for sale than a vehicle, because he just
yeah.
needs to throw stuff in.
Right.
It's,
I'm gonna look at it and see how much it's gonna cost us to keep it on the road.
Well,
Uh-huh.
that was part of the problem, is that the one vehicle is, he showed us pictures of the stuff underneath,
Frame,
it's falling
the
apart.
frame is.
Oh, okay.
And so there's
Undercarriage.
money that might not be worth putting into
Mhm.
this particular vehicle, the one that's
Sure.
going off first, so.
Uh-huh.
But it's
just
worth
a
looking
thought
into, it's a good
that,
idea.
you
Yeah,
know,
no,
that
that's
you've
a-
got this
I forgot
vehicle
about that one, yeah,
that's,
that's good.
Yeah.
okay, next question. Could somebody define to me what moving forward on that property over on the Lower Joy track? What does moving forward mean?
I'll
You can take it.
Yeah, go ahead,
I'm
okay.
Barb.
So we have talked with the county, I think you've heard this already,
Right.
about moving the road. And just changing the angle of the road, which would be done with their engineer coming to, they've already met with Dave once
Yeah, I
to
met.
look at it. We have, Barton and LaJudas is supposed to come with an architect,
As site planner.
site planner,
Okay.
to determine where this 8-ish acres actually would be that we could use for the development, because we don't have that defined stuff. So these are the things that we're doing to define it. We have, Don Hall just coming on board tonight is very eager to work with us to start the things that need to happen. We need a pump station, he can help us get financing for
Okay.
that, so that we're not, you heard the prices of the pump station tonight for
Right.
the other one. So something like that would have to happen in order to get the sewer to go from there, because it doesn't,
Change your gravity there.
No.
So that site is it?
that site
As
is
far as
it
the town goes.
for, yes.
Well, we own it.
Okay,
For,
have you guys investigated further the site itself and its, any materials in there that might be
there was a
caustic
cleanup
and-
done when after the garage was torn down, there was a brownfield cleanup done. And then you know that the DEC came back again and did more test bores, they did eight
Right.
different borings for
But
that.
not all around. They did it right on, they did 8 borings
Right.
in one spot. Now, I'm continuing to see, you guys, I know, Don, you said you went and checked it
I
out.
did.
I check that thing every day, and it's right next door to where you guys wanna put this, and the
I
water,
did find a spot, but what was there was actually, basically, it's very normal to see, especially with runoff and you've got rock strata and everything. Basically, it was oxidizing bacteria, that's what it is, and it eats the iron. That's what that.
yeah, but I
fluid-
can see that
And it gives you a
once,
sheen,
but
it does
we've
give
got-
you a sheen.
You're
Yeah.
talking about springs that are coming up out of the ground, right?
It's where they have, there's a pipe there, like
Yeah.
a little culvert there. I don't know, did you, I don't know, Dan, if you checked it
It's
out
right next to the
too.
birch trees, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then over, like, also identified over on Maple Ridge.
Well, I even took a sample, and I do have a lab I work with, and there was no volatile organic compounds in there at all, 0, none.
Well, they
There wasn't
said
any
that
oil.
in that DEC report said, it sounded to me almost comparable to a situation where you're talking removal of asbestos. You don't touch it, you're fine. You start pulling away at it, then you've got a problem. So if you guys start digging up, or somebody starts digging up around there, what are you gonna find?
I think that's, I mean, we're the laymen for this, but that's why we've had the DEC that have done these tests.
And they cleared the site,
did
we didn't clear the
Yeah.
site.
Right.
Yeah, but they did this
Well,
one
because
point
those were
part
what
of the
was
site.
left from before, because tonnage of soil was taken out and incinerated elsewhere. 2 different locations that stuff went to over, however many years ago they did that initial cleanup.
That
So
was
those
back-
things were already removed, that soil was already taken out from where the old highway garage sat.
Uh-huh.
So that, because Dan mentioned this to us when he saw that, I think he took that as a negative statement. We were all relieved to see that, because it is a workable number. The state is saying, you're okay to move forward, and they're not gonna tell us it's okay to move forward if it's not.
I mean, we had money set aside for cleaning that up, and we still have money in this year's budget for that, but DEC's telling us
Go no further.
there's no reason to go any further. Now, if we start digging and
Yeah,
we
well,
find
what
something,
happens?
well, we're
I mean,
gonna,
I know that's wherever you're gonna go,
Yeah.
Right.
but I'm just saying, is that the spot? I mean, that's a concern, I'm concerned about
well, the
it.
good part about it is if they do find something there, they're gonna have to remediate it. So it would be clean, otherwise it's just gonna sit there and fester. I don't think there's anything there in that particular area that I looked, but,
But right there, you're talking about, if you're trying to identify 8 acres, I mean, the possibility of being contamination around there is, I mean,
there's always that potential.
Mhm.
And all these old landfills around here, they all have leaching capabilities.
Yeah, but you're not building on them.
Right, but you don't really have to always build on something like that.
Mhm.
You can still have it, something down gradient, it's called a plume effect, and it actually migrates to different areas. So if we have something up on a hill, we can throw them up on the hill, and then it starts to leachate out, and it comes down, you can find it down in a sewer 20 years later.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that's why DEC does require monitoring wells around all these landfills and stuff.
Mhm.
They do drive the bus on this, that is their spill response unit, and they're geologists. That's what they do for a living, so.
So we have to put our faith in that.
What's that?
We'll have to put our faith in that.
Well, that was back in the 1990s, it's when they tore the highway garage down, and then they had to dig all those tanks out and all the ground that was around them. So, like Barb said, a lot of that material was removed.
There was a question though, whether there was still another tank in there.
Then there weren't. There was a question, there wasn't.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Okay, one other quick question. It was a question I asked at the candidates night that unfortunately only went to one candidate. My question is, will the board consider offering meetings at any point via Zoom or YouTube as a matter of full transparency? Because with all these big, we've got some major things going on here, major spending. I think it would alleviate a lot of problems for you folks and everybody else on boards, that people could tune in and know exactly what's going on, versus going to the coffee shop and saying, bits and pieces of what they heard. Well, I heard this or I heard that. It wouldn't be, it's disruptive. I don't think it would be disruptive, as shown through when the ZBA did. And because we were personally involved in that with the Stewart's thing. And that ran, I don't know if anybody else was there because it was Zoom, but I will tell you that that was about as reasonable discussions that I've ever viewed. There was no fighting, there were just facts that people put out, and I think that there were no questions. And thank God, because zoning protected it, that from happening, just because of where they wanted to do it. But I'm just saying, for the future, I think it would really be better for you guys or anybody else on the board, because everything's gonna be out there.
So we were using Kurt's equipment,
Uh-huh.
and he had to take it to his shop. And ironically, before you came in tonight, Dan had commented about how nice it was to have that, and we actually
Right.
said that we need to invest, because
Uh-huh.
this goes out after the fact, so
Yeah.
people still can see.
Sure, I think it's just a matter of, it's not trying to catch anybody or anything.
No.
It's just
Well, it's all public
for
record.
informative. And then I
Right.
did some research, looked online, like what's happening throughout the state. Different meetings that people are having either in large cities or small towns. And what they're finding, it actually brings more people into the meetings, physically into the meetings. Because then they will come. And there's always reasons why people can't come. I mean,
Right.
we all know it. Just, you guys said tonight, how many other boards have their meetings on the
Sure.
same night you guys do?
So we need to invest in the equipment. That's,
So we're
And it
just
seems
having
like
a
it's getting
conversation.
easier and easier to do, because it's become such an issue, I think, nationwide.
well, it's just become the way of the
Yeah,
world.
exactly.
Mhm.
And never take away from this. But I just think that people would be more informed, and maybe it would,
Maybe get that
like, let you
operator.
guys off the hook a little bit.
We'd also, if we were gonna do live Zoom meetings, we'd have to have an operator that's managing that system, because the problem, I had no problem doing it during that duration of
Right.
time, but it distracted me so much that a lot of
Right.
times I
Sure.
was missing out on a lot of the conversations that were actually
Right.
happening, because there's people sending messages and there's like all sorts of stuff going on.
Yeah,
did the
I
Stewart's
don't know
one
how you did it, I
and
really
all that
don't.
stuff.
But I
So-
mean, they're part of it, but even on
Yeah,
YouTube, where you wouldn't have the
No.
interaction, you've just got the information out there.
Well,
Well,
and
we're
that's
doing that now.
happening. That's
Uh-huh.
already happening.
Yeah, and there's no other, but no print source anymore locally. So I saw Nancy, they must have taken the Express, I don't know, like your notes or whatever from the last meeting.
They come and get the
Because
recording.
you weren't here, but it was something that they did, but it was all like notes, basically.
And that's
And
all
you can
that's all
never-
they've ever done.
Right, and you could never put the the whole, the whole meeting in a transcript. I mean, it's impossible.
They do come and get the recording though.
Mhm.
What they do with it,
Right.
But
Right.
this is, how many times has this been, we've had this quite a
This is
few
the
times.
fourth meeting
oh,
now.
yeah.
And then how is that accessible to the public?
It's on it's
It's
on
on
the
the
town's
townweb.org.
YouTube and the town web
Townweb.org.
website, and it's also on the town
Okay.
YouTube site.
So people can just tune into it.
It's on the townweb.org.
Yeah, it's been here.
My bad.
Gotta read it.
No, Zoom, you can.
But that goes on after the meeting's on, that's not my upset.
Not going now.
No, it's not an interactive, we
So-
just
so
record
Right,
it.
be
right.
interactive.
I mean, that's what I
But it's
mean. Like
accessible.
YouTube is more of like, okay, this is your informational source. Zoom would be more of an interaction
Right.
by,
Right.
Yeah,
Which
so-
we still
as you
will
know,
do.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so this is the fourth month that we've put the
Mhm.
meeting on video, online, so
Mhm,
we have been doing that. I'm not that savvy with it, so,
mhm.
obviously.
Well, we'll have to hire somebody to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, are you all set, Marianne?
Yeah, I'm good,
Okay,
thanks.
yes.
Yeah, Clay Lewis, 141 Fern Avenue, you don't know me. The, this whole discussion, sort of is, we see packages that are presented, and we don't know how much work actually goes on behind it, we don't see a whole lot of things going on. So, the one thing I see is like in the low-cost housing, we see this package, and the name of the package is low-cost housing. And then the image that the citizens have of the town is one thing, and then the image that the board members have is another thing, and then the image that the board members have of the initial project, and then the image that the board members have of the final product are sort of all four different images. So the one thing I'm suggesting is that somehow to start bringing things together, we sort of consider the flow of things. So the first flow that you consider is the capital. Where does the capital come from, the money, to actually build this? And then where does the money come, let's say the capital, to actually keep the rental units in repair? And then when you talk about the funding of it, what is the flow of the funding? Are the renters paying for this? Is the town paying for this? Is it an NGO that's paying for this? Is this a federal agency or a state agency? Is this all based on the fact that a large percentage of the rent would actually come from grants based on different categories that would go into this? And I think when we talk about those original four images, public, future, the board, and the rest, I think we sort of like a better flow of exactly how everybody sees this whole thing going. Are we talking about less than 50 units? Are we talking more than 150 units? Is this a federal agency that's actually doing this? So when we put it all together, it would be really good if we sort of had an overview. Now, as a neophyte on this whole thing, listening for the presentation about Don Hall coming in, this is one very tiny little thing about one thing, but I think what as a single individual of the public is looking for is, if we wanted to put our arms around the thing and we wanted to say, if we opened up the package, this is what the package would look like. Basically, we're talking 120 units. We're talking that 35% of the rent money would actually be coming from federal, state, NGO organizations. The rent this is the way the rent would be handled. This is the way evictions would be handled. And the population that would be utilizing this, what is the source of the population that would be using this? Would this be a 100 miles from here population that would actually be able to participate in this housing thing. So my request to the board is if you could sort of like open up the box and sort of just show how all the flows go. How does the capital money come from? Who loses money if the people don't pay rent? Who loses money if you only can fill half of this? Who is the builder coughing up the money for this? Are we coughing up the money for this? Where do all these different money flows, people flows, rental flows go? So I would be looking forward to that.
So Clay, I would say that a lot of those things have already been let out of the box. We did a survey, it will be 2 years in March, that a survey was done that was funded by Herkimer County Industrial Development Agency.
Yes.
And they offered to help us with housing because they see the problem that is here. So the survey, this study, gave us a final package, which is on record. Nancy can give you a copy of it, I'm sure, that explains what the need was and what they see that this community needs. And it is primarily, right now, our focus is workforce housing. That is not to say that we're not concerned about seniors and where they're going to go if they want to downsize their house. Right now, this particular project is about workforce housing. So we did a lot of work with the IDA, and Don Hall worked for them. He actually did the survey. So since then, we're gathering information. So we don't have all those answers. However, I can say this, a developer is going to bear those costs. Webb is not going to bear those costs. We are not going to manage apartments. We are not going to evict people. That's not going to be our job. We're going to have someone that works with us, but because it's town-owned property, we're going to be able to set parameters that it is local people who live and work in the community. There will be some vouchered assistance for housing. None of us need to know who's got a voucher and who doesn't, because they all should be able to live in good quality housing units. We're looking at right now a starting point of maybe 35 units. That was what the study said, I think 35 to 60, so we're not looking to fill 125 or 150 units. We want to house our own people that are leaving town, that cannot find a place to live. I saw Sarah Morin put something on Facebook the other day looking for a place for 2 people to rent. There is nothing for people to rent here that is affordable.
So how do you prevent this from becoming someone from Albany decides that they want to participate in this low cost?
It's not low cost, it's affordable. We're trying to make things affordable.
I'm sorry.
And it's based on an income level, that the rents will be based on specific income levels for people. But if somebody from Albany wants to move here, is that a bad thing? I don't see where that's a bad thing. If they live and work in the community, we're trying to grow our community and we're trying to provide homes for people who work here.
Do they have to be employed here? Or?
Those actually, that's where Don Hall's going to come into play, because he's going to help us with a lot of that.
You see the point that I'm getting at too, is that is this something that anybody anywhere can say, I have these characteristics, and because I have these characteristics, I would like to come in and take advantage of one of your housing units.
If they live
and I come from miles away, and I'm only going to rent this for 6 months.
No, that will not. We can set those parameters.
Yeah, so in sitting down and bringing Don Hall in, this is why we're bringing, as far as I'm concerned, bringing Don in, because the same things you're asking are the same things I'm asking, and what do I know about that? I don't know. And so I think I don't know if I can speak for the whole board, but we all want to make sure that whatever we're doing, we're hoping that it's going to be people that actually work here and live here. They have to live here and work here year round. I think there might have to be a small percentage of them, and again, Don would be a better person to answer this, that you have to open it up to the general public in a sense, but the majority of the housing, hopefully, if I think I understand it right from what Don was explaining to me, would be workforce housing. That we need to resolve the problem that we have here, not just open it up and invite everybody to come here and and not bring support to the community,
But somehow you have to sort. You have to sort the potential renters.
Correct,
Yes.
correct.
We've always asked those exact same questions. Everything you
And we
brought
still
up,
ask them.
we're still
Okay, good,
asking.
I just,
And
like I said, I'm seeing the box that says affordable housing on it, and the,
Understood.
I think the other thing too is, you know, we have a big decision coming up here whether we create a housing authority or not, right?
Well,
Sounds-
yes, that's part of what Don's gonna talk to us about on Monday, because we might be able to work with the Utica Municipal Authority,
Which would be great too, you know.
which then we don't have to
So-
form our own. But we have a million irons in the fire trying to get as much information before we finalize any decisions. But all those components have to be, the wheels have to be in motion. We can't just say we wanna do this and then all of a sudden be like, well, you know, we're never shovel ready for things when grant money comes along. We need to be ready for this.
and is it expected that the investor in this will have enough ROI to make it worthwhile?
That's
That's
a
it.
question for Don when he comes, but yes, that's what they do. I mean, we've had a couple of contractors that have been in here in our meetings
They
that
do
are,
this for them.
that are anxious.
And they can make money on it?
They think they can.
Okay. Good.
Are you all set, Cliff?
I'm good, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Linda?
That's such an easy one. I was gonna ask where the meeting with Don Hall is on Monday at 5:30, right here.
Right here.
That's all. Okay.
Is that open?
Yes, all
Yes,
our meetings.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on in.
And that's-
He's a wealth of knowledge
He-
on this stuff too, so.
There is a good chance that he will want an executive session with the board during that meeting.
Okay, that's,
But
that's
that's-
fine, that's,
We have almost as many questions as you do right
Right.
now.
But I think
Okay,
ultimately,
good.
for me personally, I wanna make sure that we're taking care of the people, you know, keep people here in the community.
Right.
By doing this,
Right.
like, not trying to draw people to come here, we're trying to take care of here. I'm sure it is gonna draw some people, but we
Yeah,
need
how
to
do you
make
do
sure that
that?
we have
How do you
places
draw
for
that
the people that wanna
parameter,
stay here
right?
that can't,
I mean, that's the
you
big
know,
question.
and live in
That is.
a nice
That's why you don't
have a nice place to
jump
live,
right
you know,
into it.
and so, you know, that, and preserving that. So it's like the kids that are graduating, they have no place to go if they wanna stay here and work and go on. You know, there's no options, you know, and it's not getting any better, so.
We can set a lot of those parameters for how it works, you know, we have already said, it's not gonna be a short-term rental ever, you can't use it for that. You can't be a seasonal renter, like you can't have it for snowmobiling and go off wherever. It is for year-round people that live and work here, or, you know, if they don't work here, I guess if they retired here or something, but, I guess Bob Calley, when he came, he said, you don't really, a retiree is not gonna wanna live in workforce housing, because when the work people come home
Yeah,
from work
right.
at 2 o'clock in the morning and turn their music up loud, you know,
Right.
the senior citizen that would like peace and quiet may not like that, so we're really
Right.
focused on workforce
Mhm.
for this.
Okay. Anything else? Andre? Just scratching your neck?
I was just thinking of the trailers across the street with this discussion going on. Those people moved in for year-round,
Mm-hmm.
and they worked, and they were crazy drunk every night till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 in the morning. I was in an uproar, and I wasn't the only one in the neighborhood. You cannot guarantee you're going to get the
No.
perfect people in those apartments or any rental in town. We had the cops
Very
coming
true.
over, and they had to zap one of the guys and knock him on his butt.
So,
You're
Then he
absolutely right.
woke up in the
That's-
cop car and he started kicking the
oh my
windows.
gosh.
And we were just watching the circus.
Mm-hmm.
It was unbelievable.
Bob
So-
Kelly said their agency runs very tight, and when there are issues like that, people get evicted. I know right now we can't evict anybody until
Well, they got
December, but we haven't
evicted
built it yet
because
either.
one
Right.
morning we had enough, it was going, walls were crashing inside those trailers. And I started calling the cops.
Yeah. That's all you can
And they finally got evicted. Call the cops, call the landowner. That's what I did with the dog barking. Called the cops, then I said, the hell with this, I'm calling the landowner who's renting to them. So I did. And they're gone. I don't give a shit.
Language,
Yes,
language.
it was horrible.
Clearly.
Okay, so, we need a motion to pay the audited claims. Don?
What's that?
Don,
Don?
opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Michael?
Linda.
Second,
I have
Don?
a copy of that report
if you wanna
look at it.
All in favor? Opposed? Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
that report tomorrow.